Hello and welcome again. I'm Elias, driver and engineer from the team Red Bull Driftbrothers, and today we have another episode of our M4 build story for you. The 2021 season is, there's only very little time until it starts, and as you can see, we have still tons of work to do. So let's jump right in and see where we are at the moment. In the last episode, you saw us joining the gearbox with the engine and putting this one into the car. We've been working on the entire drivetrain, so prop shaft, differential and drive shaft, and there were many more parts coming over the time. First time sitting in the new chassis with the steering wheel in place, the shifter and the e-brake placed. Almost feels like home already, even though I haven't driven, but until then there's a lot of stuff that we have to do.
Back with the expensive stuff. BMW brought us some unbelievable awesome doors. They're like carbon fiber from their GT3 car. As you can see here, we already mounted our side mirrors and door handlers just to check the fitment, but our cage is like a little bit different than the GT3 one, because we extended the sidebars to give the driver a little bit more room, because you're not getting T-boned that much in a GT3 race, but you will have some side impacts in a drift race. So we needed the extra security, and that's why we put different door bars in. The thing is, the door is like unbelievable light. As you can see, I can lift it up if I find the balance point with one finger. That's like next to nothing. The mirror is heavier than the door, to be honest. We have to modify the doors a bit. There's an inlay, and our problem is that the cage will hit in this part, and that's where we need to cut the doors out. We just test fit them now, or we already test fitted them. We will test fit them now and mark the space up where we need to cut it, and then cut it step by step. It's better to cut a little bit less than too much, obviously. I will just put it in now. Yeah, it's like really easy to do. And if I think about it, maybe I will cut them on the car. First of all, you can see the door won't close fully. I can squeeze it a little because the carbon fiber is like, you can hear it, it's paper thin. That's maybe 2 layers tops. So we go inside, close the door and mark where the bar is. And then we will cut it out. With the carbon fiber, quite important. It's hard to work with. It's not easy to manufacture it in the first place. And it's hard to cut because the carbon is so hard, it will just damage all of your tools. They won't stay sharp long. What you could do, you could cut it with an angle grinder. It will cut through it quite easily, but it will blow out so much dust. That's what gets you, because it goes into your lungs, it's a hazard. You should really take care of it. So first of all, we will need a mask. They're widely available now, I guess. Everyone should have one, and you should definitely use one. So then we need gloves, because the dust is also really itchy. You shouldn't do it in a shirt. You should do it in some clothes that you will ditch on the same day. You should not go into the same clothes on the next day. It will be, you will have a bad time. And if you do it in the t-shirt, you will always have it in the armpit, and it will scratch you the whole day. It's like horrible. Always make sure that the gloves go over the zipper or whatever you're wearing, or your sweater, that the dust can get in. It really is horrible.
Okay. Should I be concerned?
You should not be concerned. Okay. I think as long as you stay behind the camera, it's okay. With the tools that you use, you can use an angle grinder. It will blow out dust. That's like one of the problems. But the carbon fiber dust is conductive. Your angle grinder will get the dust in, and it will get a short. I use something like this. As you can see, it just wiggles. That's also the same stuff you used to remove when you broke your arm. It just oscillates left and right, and you can't cut soft material. You can just cut hard, like it doesn't damage it. You should also use a full covering face shield, just to be on the safe side. I should cover my hair a bit. If you haven't worked with it and you didn't have any problems. That's good for you. If you had some, you will know why I covered myself up like this.
Okay, thank you for the warning.
Yeah, it really, you will be fine as long as you're not close to it. So good, I will hop in, mark it up, and then we will cut it. I don't know, can you see it? Like here? No, you can't. Never mind, that what's in the way is just the X. So we will mark it up where I think it will go. Then we will cut it and see again how this worked out. Because you have to cut it step by step. If not, you have a giant hole in it. And you will regret it for the rest of your life that you cut up an expensive door like this. So it is here. From the other side. Yeah. As you can see, I draw a lot of lines. Let's see which ones will stick. And I mark up the ends where I need to go, like here. There, you can see down there, maybe here, and here. So I will just cut out the square that I just marked up, and then we'll try to close it again and see how it works. So that's what we cut out. Also, you can't cut out the shape you want like you could do it in metal, because there's fibers in it and the fibers will break apart, and that's why you can't have a smooth cut through it, except if you use a water jet or something like this. But with these tools you can't have a smooth cut, so always leave a bit of material there and then file it down later. So let's do the cut, shall we? That's like the most expensive. You need to see me smiling, because that's like the most expensive piece of carbon I ever cut. And I'm not even nervous about it. That was the first cut. Now it's irreparable forever. And that's like the piece. Look how thin it is, and look how flexible it is.
Oh, damn. So you can repair it actually, or you have to replace the whole door?
You can repair carbon fiber, but like the strength of carbon fiber comes from the length of the fiber itself. Like you see the pattern everywhere? You see the pattern that is weaved in, and each of these strands has 3,000 singular elements of carbon in it. That's like an endless string. You put 3,000 in them and then weave them. And that's how you get the carbon fiber. So the strength of the carbon fiber comes from the fact that the string is endless. Like one of these strings goes from there to there. So if you cut it up, you will lose the strength of it.
So yeah. You can glue it together?
You can glue it together. You can repair it, but it won't have the same strength as before. Like for these parts, it doesn't matter that much, because they're not, like the door needs to hold itself, but not more. And that's why it could work. So let's have a look, shall we? Getting closer. You can see the blue line. So I'm free here, I'm free down there. That's what I can feel with my hands. And like now, I'm stuck on this edge to the cage. So we will prolong the cut down there and up here. And with this one, we just go to the edge here and then stick on the edge. So as you can see, this is this point where it's finished, because what I'm suspecting is, if you look from the top, the door will go to this corner, or to this point, up until this point. So what's sticking out is this, until maybe somewhere here. That's the point where I cut already. So I will cut to this point now, make it a little bit longer, and then, because we have these things here where the door goes more in, as you can see, I won't have to cut all the way. I can just cut a bit into it and then right along the edge, right to the edge here, and I can do the same thing down there. So that's what I will do with the next cut. As you see, I mark this up, leave some space here, and I left some space everywhere. So I will have to grind those and this corner and everything. But now let's do the next cut. Hope it will be as good as the first one. So let's check again for fitment. Oh, we're getting there. As you can see from the top, it's still that top part that is flexing that I didn't cut out. It's this part right here that I cut out too short. If I push the door in, that's the part that wiggles. So that's where I will need to grind it. But at this stage, I don't want to do any more cuts because it's, like as I said before, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You want to take your sweet time to grind everything down just to be on the safe side and don't damage the carbon fiber, because it's unbelievably expensive and I could not stand myself damaging this stuff. Then let me get my grinder and I'll go on from there.
So are we getting anywhere?
Yes. Could you scratch my head? A bit deeper. Oh. Yeah. Very well. You can't. You should not scratch your bare skin when you're doing carbon and have the gloves on. Take care. As you can see, we're making progress. We just have like a centimeter gap left, and I'm slowly getting there. That were the parts that I cut out. Something like this. Somewhere here. I filed and grind away a lot. Took a lot more carbon fiber away, as you can see. This one is already really good. It cuts out nicely here. So we have to chip away more on the downside. So like we have to remove more in this area. But I try to make it as little as possible because this is where I marked up where the door bar is sticking out. I got it on the back, that's covered. This is the front where the door bar sticks out. So that lower point is where we have to cut it out again. Walter, do you know how to make a statue? Yeah, you just take a block of marble and chip everything away that isn't a naked lady. That's like the same thing. It sounds quite easy, but it takes time, effort. That's why it takes time. How long am I at it? Like an hour, I think. You can tell no one. Yeah, I took an hour to make this weirdly shaped hole. That's just how it is. So
don't make a statue out of it.
Maybe it will be a naked lady in the end. Like that would be great. I think we want to build a race car, but we'll see. Maybe plans will change. So that's it for now. So that's what we needed to do today, because tomorrow the BMW guys are coming and looking at the body kit, and to see the full proportions of the body kit, you will need a door in. Because like if you don't have a door, it looks strange. You can't see how much wider the car is compared to stock, and that's what we need to do. So I will just clamp it down here so it's completely shut. We glued the body kit together this afternoon, I think. So we will mock it up tomorrow morning for the guys to see it.
So Kevin fitted the really nice carbon fiber doors. We got them from BMW Motorsports. That's the actual GT3 doors. Really nice finish. And also, very exciting, he fitted the turbos on the engine. Twin turbo setup still. And as you can see, many pipes and hoses and stuff is going on here. But in my eyes, it looks incredible. And as far as I know, it's the most powerful table that I've ever seen. So 1000 horsepower table, quite cool.
Yes. Yes. Perfect. Thank you very much, Robbie. Have a nice day, and I send you a picture as soon as I'm done. Cool. See you. See you. Bye bye. Huh?
What's happening?
What's happening? Yeah, I just removed like the mock-up manifolds. Robbie has sent some new ones. That are the new manifolds that we got from Robbie. This one, this part is different machined than the other one because it was just a mock-up. They welded nicer. I did the inside, maybe you can see it. There where I ground it up. Yeah, it's important on the turbo manifolds to have as little edges as possible and as little well-throughs as possible, because everything that can fly off will fly off. Robbie just built a new set of manifolds, but he wanted to make sure that the wastegates fit properly because he can't replicate it with the measurements that we gave him. It's quite narrow everywhere, so he just sent us this over and told me that I should weld it up and see how it fits. And now I'm just mocking it. The call was because I was a little bit concerned because the rear turbocharger is sitting closer to the engine as before, and I wanted it a bit different. You will see it in a bit when I mock this up, where the problem lies with the placement of the rear turbocharger. We have one hole down here. As you can see, my finger vanishes. There's a hole. The other hole is on the top there, and we now need to make the intake pipes like this. They need to be at least 100 millimeters straight to not have any interference with the airflow, because this is an anti-surge housing. So, seen from the front, as you can see it now, it looks like this. And there's like the impeller of the turbo on the inside. There's some material there. And this is the outside where the induction is. From the side, it looks somewhat like this. There's the, how do I draw an impeller? There's the impeller. Looks somewhat like this. And there's a bypass. So I use different colors. Like the blue air is going in, and the air is obviously going into this direction. That's what we always have, because the turbo sucks air in, compresses it, pushes it to the engine, gives you more power as you have more oxygen. And what the anti-surge housing does, that's like if the turbo is stalling at some point, because it's out of efficiency or something, it will release some of the air that's sucked in out of this. And you have in the same housing flows in different directions. That's what we need to do to not surge the turbo, is we need to put some aluminum pipes and air filters on them again. But as we have a flow back, we can't just go on a 90-degree bend, because it will disturb the airflow on the sides. There will be turbulences and the turbo will be inefficient as hell. So what we're gonna do is we just go like this. Is where the turbo stops. This is the housing, just like this. And our pipe needs to have a specific length before it can make any bend. Yeah, that's what we need to do. What we need to do here is, maybe if I remove this one, we need to place the wastegate somewhere. And what we can do is we can place it straight here. But as you can see, we're in the line of sight with the rear turbocharger. So we would need a bend out there, or maybe down here. And Robbie got us some bends, and we could place it somewhere like that if it doesn't obstruct the V-bend, but we can turn the V-bend 180 degrees to the top, so it's not in the way. That would maybe be the best option. We just tried like this, and then we don't obstruct any airflow from the front and still have lots of space left. Like this. Because this is the hot side of the wastegate, this is the cold side, because here this is where you put your vacuum lines on to regulate it, and this is where the gases go through. So we do it somewhat like this and mock it up, and then we see if we want to change the rear position or if we leave it like this, because it's quite narrow. The manifold could move under temperature. Maybe a little more space is fine, because we now have all the freedom to place it as we wish, because Robbie didn't have the chassis at his place. He couldn't finish it up properly and left it to us, which is totally fine because it's a better solution. And I'm also an okay-ish welder. We will put some B-bends on the bands, check how it works out, check the rear one as well, and then we'll come back to you. And now we started building the downpipes, and because we're noise regulated on some tracks, we have to put the wastegates back into the downpipes, and that's like a big hassle because we need, or we're using 3-inch downpipes, and that's much bigger than stock. So we have some packaging issues, as always, just packaging issues. But I think we figured a good solution, and that's what we're going to do today. I finished one of the downpipes yesterday, so now we're just trying to position the front downpipe, that it clears everything and it has some wiggle room if the engine moves, when the engine moves. This is the downpipe. This is where the rear turbo comes. This is for the wastegate, and I just welded up, test fitted again. We're missing some parts, unfortunately, so we will just install the next set of headers and turbos and do it all over again. But I'm lucky because these are finished, these are already placed, so I know the angles. If I don't extend further back here, it's no issue with the chassis, so I can just mock it up on the other engine and finish the welding there. You can see there is the weld, and you can see two borders here and there.
Yeah.
That's like where the heat of the weld is soaking the other material. It's warming up the material, yeah. And because it's not shielded as good as this one, you will see some discoloration. Mm-hmm. And that's like, this is the border where the heat travels. Oh, yeah. If you weld it hotter and the heat travels further, like this, it will warp the flange. So that's why I weld with 55 amps, as you can see there. And I'm also pulsing. So that's a noisy here when I weld, this sound. That's because the amperage is switching with, I think, 50 Hertz. The amperage switches between 55 amps and 25 amps. So you have the short-term heat to melt the material, but you don't put that much heat in. That's what you can see here. If you do it differently, like this was welded standard, you can see that this coloration is going up until the flange. If you have it like this, if you're going too hot, you will need another V-band coupling on this. That's a different one, because that's from the turbochargers. Mm-hmm. But you will need this and clamp it down so the flange won't warp, so it's clamped into place. If you weld like this, it's a lot easier.
Some struggles in your life.
So next step will be putting the wastegates in. That's what we can't do until tomorrow. And Roland will insulate everything again because we want to keep the heat out of the engine bay. So we will remove the setup. We just mocked our pipes. We will remove the setup, give Roland the manifolds so he can insulate them, put the insulated exhaust housings on there with the other set of the manifolds, and build it again for the other car on this engine. So that will be the next steps, and these are like the crucial steps to turn the car on, hear the engine for the first time. We want to hear how it all sounds, and maybe we can give you some shots of the insulated exhaust because it's like really, really nice. Good, I think that's it.